rather date a racist who's nice to me for 4 months than to be single for 6 years.
So colorism has been a popular argument and discussion for ages now. And usually how the argument goes is that Black men are colorist, Black men are self-hating, they only want white women, so therefore I need to divest and also be colorist. Like usually this is how the argument works. It's just basically a reason to justify being colorist yourself. I mean, this is the way I see it. And this video, to me, it was a quick video, but I think it really highlighted the propaganda that we've all been hearing for a long time, because many of us have been told, we've all heard that Black men are the most colorist, that they are the ones who perpetuate colorism, they create colorism, they are responsible for colorism. By surprise, recent data actually shows the opposite. Not only is colorism systemic, right? It is obviously a result of colonialism. Colorism is also something that is oftentimes perpetuated by women. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't colorist men out there, it does exist, but when it comes to who is really actually perpetuating it and who is the ones who are feeding into it, we actually see that it's women. Here are some excerpts from The Dating Divide, literally shows how it was different women in the family who were encouraging women and sometimes their sons to be colorists, encouraging them to marry blonde people, encouraging them to marry a white person or a really light-skinned person in hopes that they would have a better social position. And so it's an argument that we've all heard in the Black community that really just does not line up under scrutiny. Of course, colorism impacts men and women, and both men and women can practice colorism, but we cannot absolve women from that conversation. Women perpetuate it too. It is mothers, sometimes grandmothers, who were telling their daughters to marry a white guy or encouraging their sons to marry a light-skinned girl. I mean, look, even Matthew knows. Literally, he said his mother was the one that encouraged him to date a light-skinned woman. Like, we all have examples, if we're honest, of women in our lives, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, saying things that were colorist or that were questionable at best. So it is not something that just Black men do. It is something that Black women do. And if Black women have the chance and the choice, many of them, if given the option, would choose white men over their own men because they believe that would give them better access to wealth and better access to social status. This is what the data is showing us. And so I wish that there is more of an honesty behind this conversation. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to go date a white guy or a racist, instead of creating such an extreme example of trying to justify why you want to date a white guy, it's like, just date a white guy. Nobody really cares if you date a white guy. It's just, I think, a lot of the propaganda behind it. And so when I saw this video about the woman saying that she'd rather date a racist than be single, I'm like, why create such extremes? I mean, I'm sure there's a Black man out there who would actually be willing to marry you instead of you having to go to a racist. We see, based upon the data, that Black men, more than any other group of men, are the most willing to date their women. And when given the option, prefer to do so. Just the issue comes down to, obviously, preference. The issue goes down to compatibility, all of that. But needless to say, you don't have to date a racist as a Black woman. There are Black men out there who would be willing to date you. But why make those extreme arguments? And again, I think that goes back to a lot of the propaganda that we've all heard around this whole conversation about colorism and preferences and divesting and all that stuff, which we just know empirically is not true. So anyways, that's what I got. But what do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.